My name's Eve Christie. I'm a filmmaker in Glasgow. I study television at Glasgow Clyde College and I love horror films. I originally come from Shetland, but I moved to Glasgow in August of 2017. Moving to Glasgow from Shetland was really scary because I didn't know anybody here and I kind of just jumped into it and not really know what I was doing. I first got into filmmaking when I was around 13 years old when I joined a young person's filmmaking group back home in Shetland. And I only really started appreciating film as an art maybe like 4 years ago and realising it's something I could do as a career. Personally, the reason that horror is my favourite genre is because it just reminds me of being young and watching horror films with my dad. When I watch horror films on Netflix or on DVDs, I'll message him and let him know that I've seen it because it just reminds me of being home with him. I think for me, the scariest horror films are sci-fi horror. Stuff like Alien, and there's a film called Dark Skies that really freaked me out. I don't know what it is, I think aliens just really scare me. My favourite horror franchise is definitely the Evil Dead films. I think, personally, I love practical effects, and I think Evil Dead 2 is just the best use of practical effects I've ever seen in a film. I really like horror films like Alien and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the classic Universal ones and Mulholland Drive. I also really adore the goofy, campy horror films like Gremlins, Gremlins 2, Ghostbusters and Evil Dead 2 and 3. And I also just love the kind of psychological horror films like The Shining and The Haunting. I think are both brilliant. I also love all the slasher films like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and the Scream films. I think they're so much fun. I think the biggest contrast between modern day horror and kind of classic horror is that it's become way more accessible to make films, and I guess horror nowadays can just be kind of churned out and is often churned out just to make money. As a woman in the film industry, I really like seeing other women doing well in all genres of the industry, but particularly horror, because I think that is quite a male-dominated genre. And I was just so happy to see how well The Babadook did. My biggest drive as a filmmaker is just to be creating stuff to influence people's opinions on things and try to say something with my art, because I think as artists that is what we should be doing. I think that there's no excuse for films that say nothing and are there for no reason.